Miranda Green is a congressional reporter. She covers energy and the environment for The Hill, and she's been covering all the developments in the Green New Deal. As we just took a look at the website with your latest piece. And Miranda, it seems like a story that you were destined to write about here. So for people following this from outside the U.S., what should they know about the resolution?
Well, this is a non-binding resolution, so it means that ultimately, despite how many people sign on to this, it cannot become a law. But what's important here is that this is a large piece of a bill that has a lot of components that show how much the Democrats are trying to strive towards touching this issue of climate change. So this is almost like a wish list for them. A lot of the nitty-gritty parts in this bill talk about things that they would like to attempt to touch now that Democrats are in power in the House. This is the first time that Democrats are in a position of power like this. It's been 8 years since they've been able to bring any sort of bill of this magnitude. And so what they're trying to do is show that now that we have power, this is an issue that comes to the forefront for us. And despite the fact that this bill is not something that ultimately can become law, what they're trying to do is lay out their hopes and hope that they will ultimately pull some of these pieces and legislation will come from this eventually in the future.
Let's remind people what President Trump said when he pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accord. He made this statement in June of 2017. Take a listen.
As president, I can put no other consideration before the well-being of American citizens. The Paris Climate Accord is simply the latest example of Washington entering into an agreement that disadvantages the United States. We don't want other leaders and other countries laughing at us anymore, and they won't be. They won't be. I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris.
So, okay, so the U.S. domestic politics here, we have the Democrats who are now in control of the House of Representatives. Is this really just sort of symbolic, putting this out there, putting this proposal out there as a way to try to move the ball forward in terms of the discussion and appeal to the base, just the way that President Trump tries to appeal to his base?
I think that you could say that it's really a twofold initiative. Of course, it is symbolic in the sense that, you know, this cannot become a bill. But at the end of the day, I think that what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the others who have signed on to this resolution are trying to show is that the Democrats are serious about tackling climate change in a way that we haven't seen Republicans do, in a way that we haven't seen Donald Trump talk about. And so what they want voters, their base, and the rest of Americans to see is that there is a champion in Congress who cares about this issue. And this is important to them, especially in the light of all the climate change studies that we've seen come out from the UN, including our own national climate assessment that came out last fall. They want Americans and voters, especially those who are considering who they're going to vote for in 2020, to know that there is a party that cares about tackling this issue. Of course, it remains to be seen what they end up doing. It remains to be seen what specific bills and how they want to do this. The main proponent of the Green New Deal is that they want to transition the United States to 100% renewable energy by 2030, and we still need to figure out how that's going to happen. But, you know, what AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, is saying herself is it's a start, and to them, that's enough.
You mentioned no real guidelines on how this might be achieved. Why not include that in this proposal? Why did the Democrats who are behind this not come out and be more specific about how they might want to do this?
That's a good question. I think that's some criticism from the internal party about this as well. I think that ultimately we're touching on the fact that there is some inter-party turmoil about how to best address this issue. I think that there were a lot of lawmakers, tenured lawmakers, who've been waiting for 8 years to finally have the power in their committees to start broaching this issue and talking about climate change. And then Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a freshman lawmaker who just was sworn in January, is pushing forward this idea of a Green New Deal, which many people did not know about, 2-3 months ago. And so I think there's a lot of, questioning what the best next approach is. So this resolution kind of pulls all that together. I think it's a way for the party to kind of come together in one place, lay out all of their dreams, the the resolution itself talks about bringing clean water to all, starting family farming, enforcing and trying to get more people to use light rail systems. So it's not just talking about climate change initiatives. And so I think that this is just, as I said before, a start for them. And I think that many are hoping that more real legislation that has binding power will come later.
Miranda Green, good to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on CNN Newsroom. I'm Rick Fulbaum. African